So then, Fury fans and Usyk fans, you may not like it, but let's have a look at some of the harsh truths about this absolute beast of a fight, the colossal Usyk versus Fury rematch. Yes, and before we get started, you ain't going to want to miss this absolute cracker, are you? So feel free to purchase the pay-per-view right now through DAZN. Yes, it's the #1 place to watch this historical night, and by the by, there's no subscription required, but you'll get a free 7-day trial with your purchase, giving you access to the home of boxing. You'll probably end up fucking loving it, won't you? Anyway.
Fight talk!
Now, this fight massively divided opinion first time round, and even though Usyk was the clear winner on the night, round 2 has divided opinion just as much. Firstly, we're hoping it actually fucking happens. So yeah, I mean, after the fallout in February, it's easy to have an element of doubt in there.
Tyson Fury got cut a few weeks before the fight was meant to happen.
Look at that right there.
And let's stay positive this time, however. Harsh truth #1 is actually related to this point. It's no secret that Fury didn't want to fight him in the first place.
Listen, it's been going on a long time. You were supposed to fight in April at Wembley. It never happened.
Now hold up, Fury fans. I've got some harsh truths for the old Usyk fans as well. I'll balance it out, don't you fucking worry. But yes, let's rewind a minute. Let me give you a brief history of this fight. I know you've heard it a million times, so I'll try not to fucking bore you. But anyway, after Usyk beat Anthony Joshua for the second time in another outstanding display, there was a new main man on the heavyweight block.
I can thank you, Saudi. Thank you so much.
At this point as well, Fury was actually retired after demolishing Dillian Whyte at Wembley. He was chilling out, max relaxing, enjoying his millions and saying he'll never return to the ring. But let's be honest, he only said he was retired because it made an interesting storyline for his Netflix documentary. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knew that was a load of bollocks, and we knew we'd see him back in the mix at some point. Unfortunately though, we didn't think he'd bring Delboy into the fucking mix as well.
You're charging the great British public hard-earned money to watch this on pay-per-view. Chisora, he ain't going to put you down if he's in there with a hammer with you.
You know he can't put anybody down. He's done a lot in the sport and he deserves his payday, and I'm willing to give it.
Yes, his return was a cherry-picked easy payday against a washed-up Delboy. Now, we love Del, but this fight should never have happened. Either way though, we finally did get our plums tingling afterwards when Usyk jumped on the apron.
All these big fights have evaded for so long, but they can't run away anymore. They can run, but they can't hide.
And with 2023 just around the corner, there was no other fight to be made in the first part of that year. What could possibly go wrong? Well, what could possibly go fucking right? Yes, as mentioned, Fury, for whatever reason, just didn't want the fight. He forced Usyk to take 70-30.
Usyk, you and your team are worth 30%.
Usyk then called his bluff and accepted.
I accept your offer. 70-30, split the fight.
Then there was a mega deal on the table for the fight to be held in Saudi, but somehow Fury priced himself out of that one as well. Then it was going to be at Wembley, and Fury wanted to get rid of the rematch clause, ultimately because if he lost the fight, the rematch purse would have been in Usyk's favour, and in the end, his constant, unnecessary demands forced Team Usyk to go, oh, I can't be fucked anymore, and they walked away.
Alexander Usyk and his team are known to be the easiest people to deal with in the world of boxing. So there's only one thing still pending. It's a complex person trying to squeeze as much money as possible.
I had a real sense that Fury and Usyk was going to be one of those fights that we lost.
Now, some may disagree that Fury was being unreasonable here, but then you have to remember all the way along he never seemed to be training for the fight. Sugar Hill was not even in the Fury camp, he was with Lawrence Okolie elsewhere, and on top of that he dropped some hints at a monstrous Saudi fight completely unrelated to Usyk. So ultimately all this led to one conclusion: he was trying to get out of it. Now, the monstrous fight turned out to be Francis Ngannou, and when this dropped, everything finally made perfect sense. Why risk a hard fight against an absolute genius when you could have hardly any risk and an easy touch against an MMA fighter for a lot more money? He was just playing the game.
Maybe Tyson Fury not serious. Oh, it's an MMA fighter, blah 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 blah.
Funnily enough, Ngannou turned out to be harder than he thought. He said, I didn't realise he could fucking box. You didn't tell me that, did you? But after controversially scraping through, and with Usyk staying busy against Daniel Dubious just prior to this, the undisputed fight was finally delivered. In a nutshell, it took one man, Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh, with an offer Fury couldn't refuse, for him to finally fight the unified champion.
Tyson Fury is 35 now, around 35. Make make the fight that people want to see it.
Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, of course he was never scared of Usyk, however he clearly was scared of losing to Usyk, which in turn would damage his draw power, his record, his ego, so on and so forth.
If I can't beat Usyk, never was any good, no right to call myself the greatest of all times, and was always there's the pressure cooker for you.
As much as he threw in the middleweight jibes and I'll beat him and AJ on the same night, blah blah blah, he knew full well how good Usyk was. Maybe he just felt he wouldn't be able to keep up with his pace after seeing him dismantle AJ Chisora and the whole of the cruiserweight division, which leads me on to another harsh truth for Fury: he's just not the man that he once was. And he knows it. So as we all know, he's battered his body about over the years. He blew up to nigh on 30 stone back around 7 years ago now, but even throughout his comeback he's been privy to a blow up in between fights as well. I mean, even before the Ngannou fight he looked like he'd eaten a bouncy fucking castle. On top of that, he don't mind a drink now and again. Don't get me wrong, there's no shame in that. I'm only saying, overall he's not been known to be an athlete who stays in fighting shape all year round. This is not a problem when you're fighting inferior fighters to yourself like Chisora and Ngannou, but it is a problem when you're facing a man who's an absolute machine. A man who does stay in shape all year round and is the consummate professional. I mean, even back a few months ago we saw him crawling out a pub absolutely walloped. Now okay, it may have just been a one-off, maybe we shouldn't read too much into it. But then again, you know, maybe we should. But yes, all this combined is the reason that he's not as fit these days and can no longer move like he did in the Klitschko fight, for instance. He's clearly had a detrimental effect on his legs, his footwork and his stamina, because he's now more of a plant the feet, stand and trade fighter. Again, that's fine against other stand and trade fighters, but Usyk being the fleet-footed, elusive mover that he is, it ended up becoming a problem. However, let's have some parliamentary procedure here, because the man in the opposite end of the ring is now 37 years old as well, and as much as we know he's a machine, the harsh truth is that his body has got to start failing at some point. He's been pushing it to the limit for the past 20 years solidly, so could that time be now? I know it's only 7 months after the first fight, granted, but you never know what that fight took out of him.
I went to congratulate Alexandrov in his dressing room afterwards with his team, and I'll tell you what, he knew he'd been in a fight. If you'd have filmed the two of them, you'd have thought Tyson had won the fight.
And yet another harsh truth for Usyk fans is, can he actually perform any better than he did on that night? I just don't know. I mean, surely he can't be any more aggressive than he was, he can't be any busier than he was last time out, and regardless of whether you think the fight should have been stopped in that 9th round or not, ultimately it wasn't, meaning Usyk's dozen or so free shots smack bang on Fury's nozzle when he was bouncing him around the ring like the fucking DVD sign weren't actually powerful enough to get him out of there.
And these guys are not letting us down. Fury's in trouble. The big fella, the Gypsy King, is rattled. He's stumbling into the ring. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? He's going. The referee might stop it. Whoa! Fury is down.
And Fury recovered well to even win a round after that, so they clearly didn't have any lasting effects.
And I took his best shots and smiled at him. He must have been thinking, wow, what have I got to do to get this man out of there?
Then if we take away that 9th round, this fight is very close. I'd still have Usyk taking it by a round or two, but it's certainly not a shutout, and certainly not enough to guarantee that Usyk's going to win the second time around. Which leads me on to another very important harsh truth for Usyk fans, that old Tyrone Fury possibly can be better.
It was very close last time. He got it by a point. A little bit more focus, a little bit more lack of complacency, and I should do the job, what I need to do.
And has always been a much more formidable force in his rematches.
I didn't think he beat me last time, and I damn sure ain't going to let him beat me this time. I've got to knock him out, and I'll get it, like I did at Wilder 2. Said I was going to knock him out, and I did.
So granted, they're nothing of the same calibre as Usyk, but if we go back to the John McDermott rematch, we go back to Chisora, then Wilder, Fury blew them all away the second time around. He noted his mistakes and exposed their own to, in the end, completely have his way. Knowing that he only lost on points and had a lot of success in the mid-stages of the fight, he's bound to have an element of confidence there that he can improve this time out and realises where he went wrong.
Usyk has a weakness that Tyson did not exploit like he should
Enough.
which is his body.
Yeah.
It will just be a case of actually implementing those adjustments on the night, and this may depend on what we talked about earlier. Will his body allow him to do what his head wants him to do?
So can I be any better? Can I do any better? I can be more focused, less clowning, and I think that's enough.
However, let's just say for a minute he does implement a new effective game plan on the night and is able to put it on Usyk much more so this time around. That's bound to be another big problem for the Ukrainian. Because outside of the first Fury fight, Usyk's hardest heavyweight fight actually came at the hands of old Del Boy Chisora, a man who did put it on him, who did try to bully him and made it a very scrappy, hard night. Yes, okay, he lost, but if old Fury were to combine that bullying aspect with his boxing IQ, who's to say he wouldn't do a much more impactful job than Chisora did?
In the lead up to the fight, I was saying if Fury gets close, he needs to hold him, push him down, lie on him, sap his energy.
We're making it very simple and saying, oh, go put it on him, grab him, hold him, throw him around the ring. It's not that simple with him. 10 weeks sparring Usyk. I'm not as big as Fury, I wasn't as wide and everything else, but I've tried to grab hold of him and he's almost slippery.
In fact, I think we can guarantee that whereas Fury didn't use the bullying tactics in the first fight that we thought he would, he sure as shit is going to do it this time around, and Usyk's bound to be in the firing line for a world of pain, so he'll need to be at his fleet-footed best in order to avoid it. But then we've got another harsh truth for old Tyson, ain't we? Because it's safe to say that Usyk took some of his very best shots. Have a look at this one. Bosh. A few of the uppercuts that Fury landed that night were absolutely on the button, and they have been more than enough to clean out the likes of Dillian Whyte in the past, but for Usyk, he ate them up and just kept on trouncing forward. He said, "I will not leave you alone," and he fucking well meant it, didn't he? Regardless of what was thrown at him. This man's chin is seriously underrated and not talked about enough. He's taken some absolute pearlers from AJ, Fury and Dubious and hardly ever looked to be in any distress. Aside from the Dubious low blow, but yeah, let's not get into fucking that right now. So yes, we do have to ask, does old Fury have the power to knock this man out? That one is up for a major debate. And let's not beat about the bush, he may need to knock him out as well, because with Usyk's work rate and the fact that no man has ever been able to outwork him, it seems to be a case of stop this man or he won't stop coming for you.
Engine is much more important than the fuselage.
So in a nutshell, this fight really is a thing of beauty. I just can't help but see Fury on a warpath this time, trying to outdo the aggression of Usyk, and with him having the obvious advantage in size and strength, he's bound to have a lot of success implementing this strategy.
Cause I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
But it just depends on how long he can keep it up for. I mean, will he be able to maintain this game plan for 12 rounds, or will he gas himself out after a certain point? It all comes back to his fitness. But should he guess, then let's be honest, he's well and truly fucked. Because the Duracell bunny over here is going to be relentless if he senses that's the case. Now, Usyk fought AJ twice and Dubious prior to the first fight with Fury, and that Dubious fight has aged very well, hasn't it? But Fury done himself no favours at all coming into the first fight, having cherry-picked and fought an MMA fighter, having also cherry-picked Chisora, and you could even put Dillian Whyte in that mix as well, potentially, because none of these three replicate anything that Usyk has or does, and they were all a tailor-made style for the big man. But now, having been in with this skilled technician, Fury will be coming into the rematch fully aware of how good he actually is and how he needs to be better. I mean, we can't deny though, Usyk's going to be the one going in full to the brim with confidence, and Fury's bound to be lacking his usual confidence, having just lost for the first time. But don't be surprised to see this fight being a mile away from the first one, a totally different clash, because both men know what to expect now, and everyone's going to be going for broke. We shall see. Don't forget to get a pay-per-view, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy the fucking fight. Bosh.